All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the third and final webinar from the Success Coaching and UpdateAI team, ChatGPT in Customer Success. I'm Andrew Marks, and if you joined our webinar yesterday, you know that I did not win the $1.5 billion Mega Millions jackpot. So I'm here today with my friend and colleague, Mickey Powell. I'm the co-founder and architect of Success Coaching and our Success Coaching training programs. And this free learning event is brought to you by Success Coaching, the world leader in customer success professional development training, with over 25,000 students from more than 90 countries on our skills development platform. Our programs are available in a variety of formats, from self-paced online learning to virtual instructor-led boot camps. We've got a number of upcoming boot camps that still have seats available, including outcome-based selling, August 22nd and 23rd, led by my partner, Aaron Thompson. Our level 2 CCSM certification bootcamp led by yours truly, August 28th through 30th, and a level 1 CCSM certification bootcamp also taught by Aaron on September 25th through 27th. We've also got a growing number of partners delivering some great content through our platform. We've launched a new strategic conversations workshop led by Bob London starting on September 5th. We have a difficult customers conversations workshop led by Anita Toth coming up on September 12th. Change management for customer success, an important topic in any customer-facing role, taught by Toby Lusich, September 18th through 20th, and data-driven decision-making, led by Ed Powers, beginning September 29th. Tickets are also now available for our fall 12-week level 1 and level 2 coaching programs that are delivered in partnership with the University of San Francisco Executive Education Certificate Program. This is one of my absolute favorite things that I get to do. I get to spend 12 weeks with up to 25 learners as we cover the key skills to be successful in customer-facing roles. We have a variety of special guests that join us, in-depth conversations about all the topics covered during the program, thought-provoking exercises, and great conversations to help everyone connect the dots between the skills they're learning and how to incorporate them into their day-to-day world. You can save $250 when you register by September 1st for the fall programs, and I believe that Ashley has dropped a bunch of links and things into chat to show you where you can find all that stuff. Whether it's self-paced learning, a bootcamp workshop, or a more gradual weekly coaching program, we've got quality customer-focused programs and formats that will suit the needs of anyone and everyone on your staff. So if you or your team members are looking to upgrade their customer-facing skills, we've got a program for that. You can also just find out more about our online learning programs and our instructor-led programs, as well as get access to a list of all of our events at successcoaching.co. The schedule for our upcoming events can be found under the events tab. Enough of my preamble. Let's get to it. My guest today is Mickey Powell, co-founder and head of go-to-market at update.ai.
Awesome.
Mickey, thank you. Take it from here.
Yeah, thank you so much, Andrew. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. I'm super excited to chat with you all today. I'm going to jump right in because we got a lot of content. So to quickly cover the agenda, what you're going to take away from today, the first thing I'm going to talk about is what is stopping us from being 10 times more productive. The answer is definitely not what you're expecting coming to a ChatGPT workshop and demonstration, but it does tie into ChatGPT. There's also, of course, the connection that is found between achievement, creativity, and happiness, and how we can drive that forward using ChatGPT to overcome things like procrastination, which has plagued me my whole life. And I definitely feel that what I've learned through using ChatGPT has helped me in this area, and I hope it helps you too. And then we're going to talk about 4 ChatGPT tactics to unlock your creativity. These are simple and effective ways for you to get more out of this tool. And then, of course, I want to show you how you can use this tool to scale you, because we all have jobs. We got to get stuff done. There are some very easy ways to continue to drive productivity for ourselves.
I don't need to scale me anymore, man.
Say yes, that is totally not where we're scaling. This is all about productivity. And then I am going to show you some mind-blowing demos, some things that you almost assuredly haven't seen elsewhere, even in webinars that I have done. So really quick about UpdateAI. If you're a CSM, a CS leader, and you are talking to customers, you know that presenting, asking questions, taking good notes, listening, those don't work together. So I come from customer success, spent the last 10 years in customer success. So my co-founder, Josh, and I started this company to make your lives easier and help you deal with the burden of back-to-back meetings, burnout, all of the additional things that you have to do. So if you want to keep taking notes, don't use UpdateAI. We're not for you. But if you want to save yourself time, energy, pain, suffering, give us a shot. We actually have a free version. We also give a 2-week free trial of our pro version. If you have any other questions on that, please let me know. But it's the number one way to save yourself 30 minutes per meeting. All right.
We love UpdateAI. We love UpdateAI. We've been using it for quite a while now.
You used it
over a year. We used it like pre-beta.
Yeah. You used it back when it was not good.
Yeah, and it was still pretty cool. And so it's good stuff.
That's right. And yes, for the folks that asked, it is currently Zoom only, but we are working on more integration. So feel free to check us out. All right. I just want to give you a quick warning. There's going to be a lot today. So buckle up. This is not a one-on-one. You're all capable, smart people. So let's jump right in. And we're going to do a little exercise, actually, to start. So here's what we're going to do. You're going to compete against ChatGPT. So I'm going to drop this link in the chat. And I apologize for the folks on LinkedIn Live. You're just going to have to watch. Go into this document. And in that light green area, over the next 60 seconds, I want you to put as many problems as you can think of in customer success. Just pick a cell, add a problem. It could be anything. We don't have enough time. Customers have expectations, product features, anything you can think of, problems that impact us in customer success, as many as you can think of. And we've got about 45 seconds to do it.
Look at all those cells lighting up. I moved my keyboard. Otherwise, I'd have plenty to say.
Thank you, Tracy. As many problems as you can think of. You got 30 more seconds. Robin Heathers would probably use ChatGPT to generate that list. That's an interesting idea.
You got some 60, you got almost 70 people in there. That's great.
You got 15 seconds. How many more can you produce? Problems, people, problems. If you don't have problems, I've got some. Happy to lend them to you. Do we have 99 problems?
I don't know how many problems we have.
All right. And we're done. All right. Now it's ChatGPT's turn. So I have a prompt loaded here. And I am going to let ChatGPT take a crack at this for 60 seconds. So while it's generating, let's hop back over to that spreadsheet. Let's talk about this for a second. So what do we got here? Time-consuming admin tasks, lack of a champion, feature benefits. Oh yeah, people are like, hey, I want to see it right now. I need sales to answer me. Oh, I'm sorry. I know that's a thing.
Being seen as support. Well, what is melted proteins?
Melted proteins?
No idea what that means.
Maybe they're in like the biotech industry.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can think of. But there you go. I was right.
Got it.
All right. Let's see how ChatGPT did. It's still working away. Look at it go. I'm going to cut it off at 85. So 85 ideas in 60 seconds. How many did you all come up with? 125 in 60 seconds. You win. You guys beat the machine. I'm so proud of all of you. There was only something like 60 something people in there.
There was about 70 people in there. So
70 people in there. So, and of course it's still going. It didn't stop. Look at that. So the point I want to make here is that we are in this new realm, this new world. And if you are going to be trying to get stuff done, ChatGPT already had its turn, then you should be working with ChatGPT because it can help you. It can assist you. So keep that in mind. We're going to come back to that later, but that was just a fun little exercise to get us going. So let's get started. So this whole doing more with less, Andrew, I know this is like the topic du jour for the last year. And we've all felt the burnout that comes with that. And I know that it's worse than ever right now because we all are just trying to get more done. But the problem is we can't solve a problem if we don't know its underlying causes. So I actually did a bunch of research and I found that the Mayo Clinic says that there are 6 possible causes of burnout. So the first is a lack of control. If we're going through something like a pandemic, layoffs, all of those other things, this can contribute to this sense of burnout, feeling overwhelmed, overworked. The second is unclear expectations. Andrew, I'm sure you've never had unclear expectations in your career.
Never.
But I know being in customer success, it's not always 100% clear what we're trying to do. We have to operate in ambiguity. The third is dysfunctional workplaces. I've had the good fortune of working in really functional workplaces, and of course, the unpleasant experience of dysfunctional workplaces. And then there's activity extremes. There's days where you're so busy that you cannot imagine working any harder. And then there's days where it's slower. And that oscillating back and forth can actually lead to more burnout. And then, of course, a lack of social support. This one, I started working from home 6 years ago, and I realized really quick, not having people around can at times be difficult for managing the stresses of daily life and daily work. And then last is work-life imbalance. So especially when we work in customer success, we're trying to do a lot. If it starts to creep into more of our life, this can be contributory to burnout. So we have these 6 causes. All right, now we're starting to zero in. And I saw this quote, and it really made me think about how burnout is getting in the way of us being happy. And since today we're talking about getting shit done, there is a reason for all this. And in my opinion is if you're happier, you're going to enjoy your work more, and it's going to be this complementary effect on each other. And I call that the flywheel of happiness. Now, I'm not pretending I'm happy 100% of the time, but I definitely feel better when I'm achieving things, I'm being creative, and that helps drive happiness, which then leads me to want to achieve and create more. And I'm going to show you how ChatGPT has helped me with this. Because this is a quote that my grandfather said many years ago. I know he didn't make it up, but I still thought it was really funny. Perfect is better than done. So I don't know about you, Andrew, but like for me, getting started sometimes is the problem. Just getting going.
Oh, yeah.
And the
Why
procrastination
procrastinate when you can do it later.
Yeah, exactly. That's great. And apparently, like the experts say that 15% of us are chronic procrastinators, and that there's actually what they have found is that the underlying problems here is that procrastination is actually about managing negative emotions, not laziness or time management. So if you struggle with procrastination, I want you to know it's not because you're lazy or you're bad at time management. There's something deeper there. And unfortunately,
what they didn't tell you is 45% of those people just failed to answer the survey.
they were getting around to it. That's right.
Exactly.
They were going to do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it becomes a cycle, right? It's like, hey, I procrastinate. I'm going to put it off. Now it's becoming more anxiety inducing because I put it off, and maybe I can just put it off some more, push that deadline, whatever might happen. And then there's always this present bias. Like, hey, I got to do stuff right now. Everything's urgent in customer success. It's got to happen right now. And then this leads to even more procrastination, putting things off. So the real problem is these underlying emotions. We need to get going. We need to conquer procrastination because that is the main cause of not being able to get shit done, which is what we're talking about today. So we have all sorts of tactics like self-compassion, like cutting yourself a break, trying to make it harder to procrastinate. This is why I deleted like Facebook off my phone years ago. It's like, I don't even want to have this there anymore. It's just a procrastination mechanism. And then using ChatGPT to get started immediately. So the reason why this is so powerful is that the secret to motivation is that action comes before motivation, not the other way around. So you get going and then you get motivated, and that's what feeds action. It's that ball rolling downhill. So how can you use ChatGPT to do that? There's actually 5 really easy ways. And I'm going to demonstrate for you in a second, but let me lay these out for you. First is brainstorming. That's what I just had ChatGPT do. Give me 200 ideas about problems that customer success managers face. I didn't have to do anything more than just giving it that prompt, let it start working. Yeah, some of those are probably garbage, but that's not the point. The point is getting started. Then you can, of course, expand on things. Let's say you find one that's you don't quite understand, or you think it's really good. You can ask it, go deeper on that. Tell me more about that. You don't have to think about it. You can just do. And then there's simplifying. Hey, I don't understand this topic. Can you tell me more? Explain it to me like I'm 5. Explain it to me like I'm 10. Explain it to me in 1,000 different ways, whatever it takes for you to continue down the path of getting what you need to get done. And then I really love this concept of zooming in or zooming out. Like, hey, what's the big picture? Oh, I just want to get right down into the nitty-gritty details and then zoom back out. And lastly, there's abstractions. Hey, I want an analogy about this, or a metaphor, or an example. These are all things that ChatGPT can do to help you turn things over and continue forward. Because remember, action leads to motivation and not the other way around. So let me just quickly show you kind of what I'm talking about. So I had ChatGPT generate 200 ideas. There's a lot in here. Probably could keep going. Wow, look at that. It even said, phew, that was a long list.
Huh.
So I'm going to ask it, summarize the top 5 themes of this list in buckets with headings and subheadings.
In the style of a rap.
I could have done that for sure.
I know you could have.
So there's nothing new here that you don't already know. The point is, I went from this crazy long list. It came up with 200 ideas. And now I can have it bucket this down into something that I can now start to digest and manage and understand. I could ask it to go deeper. And I could ask it to simplify. I could ask it for an analogy. Give me an analogy about all this stuff. So again, just getting started, getting 200 ideas out. It doesn't matter if 199 of them are terrible. If one is good, that's all that matters. All right. So we're moving along. We're working together with AI. Remember, this is about amplifying you. And we want to build that momentum. We want to keep that momentum, right? We want to get started. And to keep going, use these tactics, brainstorming, expanding, simplify, get lost in that creative flow and keep going. Because that's when you're going to start to get so much more done with the help of ChatGPT than you could ever do on your own. And that's what's going to keep pushing this flywheel. We're getting more productive. We're achieving. We're creating. We're finding more joy in our work. Let's do a quick little poll. Ashley's going to help me out on launching it. I want to know, I've asked this before, but I know I'm sure we've got plenty of new people here. How often do you use ChatGPT?
I find I'm using it a couple times a week.
Yeah, I use it pretty much every day.
Well, I would think so. It's part of your platform.
My shtick.
Yeah.
You can say it.
You know what, that list of 6 things that leads to burnout.
Yeah.
I actually have a couple days ago I experienced them all in the same day.
Dang.
So yeah, sometimes being able to just kind of shift gears and say, okay, let's chat GPT something. Let's go into a little more detail on something. Just take my mind off this and help me create some stuff is pretty helpful.
Yeah, especially at the end of the day, you're burnt out and you're like, oh, I need to come up with an outline for that thing tomorrow. That's the worst time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But you could probably point out if it's good or bad.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is ChatGPT is not the end all be all. You gotta you got to be smart about it, right?
Of course.
Everything it spits out doesn't necessarily. There was one thing I was looking at the other day, and I'm like, yeah, you got this definition wrong, and I had to explain it.
Yep. Always verify, folks. All right.
So what's funny is I find myself thanking the thing. Thank you. This was good.
That's right. Just in case it ever takes over.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was nice to you, remember?
That's right. Please have mercy on me. All right. So about 50% of us are using it at least weekly. And then about 50% of us are rarely or never. So feel free to share those results. Think about those results, ponder them. I will share them on LinkedIn with the broader community. So let's keep rolling. This is a quote I really love because we're in that moment right now. You can decide how you want to interact with this tool, but I have news for you. Whether or not you want to, it's going to continue to permeate everywhere. I personally have dove headfirst, not only because it's a part of my business, but I also have a nearly 5-year-old daughter. I want to understand how this is going to impact the world that she's growing into. And I'm very optimistic there will be lots of positive things. Now, we're not going to get into the negatives, but there are some. Happy to discuss those with anybody at any time.
Yeah,
so
I'm with you. I embraced it as well.
Yeah.
I've posted on it in LinkedIn, right? We need to look at this as a positive.
Yep. We do get a choice in how we frame things. That's for sure. Yep. All right. We're going to talk about a little bit of a controversial topic. CSM zoning renewals. Andrew, before I dive in, do you have an opinion on this?
Yeah, I do have an opinion on this, and it's shifted over time. At first, I said there's no freaking way, but I think there needs to be. I think there needs to be a hybrid, and I think it could change from situation to situation. CSMs own the responsibility for creating the environment for a renewal to occur, or for an expansion to occur. Now, if a CSM has the type of if they built the type of relationship with their customer, with their key stakeholders, and they feel comfortable then taking that next step in negotiating and closing that renewal, great. But that's pretty far down. That's pretty far along in the relationship journey.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where I think you need to. You need to be making some real-time decisions. Does this make sense for me to negotiate? Because if I jump into negotiation, then do I risk ruining my trusted advisor status with this customer? And that's where I think sales or somebody from the sales organization should then step in and negotiate the business terms.
I love it. So the one thing you said that I really attached to is creating the environment, because that isn't, oh, it's T-minus 90 days until your contract's up. Now it's time to talk about whether or not this is good for you.
That is a bad practice. Tell you all that right now.
It literally is constant. Yep. You can make or break your relationship in one instant, and it could be the very first one. It could be somewhere in the middle. It could be at the end. It's hard to know. So you need to be constantly evolving that. So I asked ChatGPT to get creative about this, because it's not just about getting that contract. It's about how we guide them to that outcome, right? We create that landscape along the way. And if we do it well, renewal is a no-brainer. Like that's not a problem. Then I think you make a good point. Yeah, just deal with the dollars and cents. Let the other folks deal with that. You don't need to get into that. It should be much easier if you're doing everything along the way. So I wanted ChatGPT to give me some creative ideas. So what I did is I actually gave it a bunch of constraints. I said, here's what you can't do. And here's what you can do. Like, hey, I want to talk about CSM and renewals, but we can't negotiate on price and upsell. And these need to be unintuitive ideas. And then I added frameworks. I told ChatGPT to leverage the creative process, as well as the book, The Challenger Sale, which is a very famous book around how to sell. And I've had some good fortune of being trained how to sell. I'm not the best salesperson in the world, hence why I got into customer success and then fell in love with it, but I can leverage those best practices. And then there's blending. So I gave it specific instructions to blend these together to come up with something new and interesting and different that is going to help us along the way. And I'm going to show you what it came up with. So here are 4 unintuitive ways for CSMs to drive successful renewals well before renewal time. So I asked it said, hey, you can ask ChatGPT to imagine new scenarios. And when I say imagine new scenarios, I mean like get kind of wild with it. Like, hey, we're a MarTech company helping you with keyword optimization. What if you could do keyword optimization on your support articles and helping match that to your support queries? What would that do for your business? So how could you imagine and break and bend the reality of your product and capabilities in a way to help them think outside of the box on what's possible? Because that, of course, will help uncover potential problems in their business they hadn't thought about. The next one was reverse brainstorming. So this is about having a conversation well before the renewal time to outline exactly what would happen if they stopped using you. Don't be afraid to have that conversation. If they're like nothing, it would be totally fine. That's an immediate red flag. If they can articulate how much pain, how much difficulty, what it would do to the business and to themselves, then you're in a really, really good place. Then there's peer pressure. I think it's great to not only show, hey, this is what our customers are doing, they're doing well, but also here's what your competitors are doing with either our product or similar products to help inspire that competition. And then lastly, but not least, help them paint this visionary tale. What does 5 and 10 years look like for their industry? Show them how about their industry, about what they need to accomplish by helping paint that picture of the future. Humans have a really hard time actually painting a vivid picture of the future. If you can do that for them and then show them how you're going to help track there, assuming that they like that vision, then it's going to not only put you in a good position of being this trusted advisor that can help them get there, but it'll also help uncover additional areas that they want to explore. So I'm not really a writer, so I'm going to show you with that visionary tale how ChatGPT can help. And I did this whole CSM renewal thing in this whole chat. We're not going to go over it step by step, but just to show you, it was a fairly lengthy chat. I'm talking about unintuitive ways, getting down into it. And then all the way at the bottom, now I'm going to ask it to craft a visionary tale. I did not test this, so this is totally live. It may suck, but I wanted to show you that this is the approach I usually take of just testing rapidly, iterating. So it's talking about 2033 CSM's new companions are AI assistants.
This is what I wrote. This is what I wrote about on LinkedIn. It's just grabbing my LinkedIn post.
That's not true. Don't you lie to them.
No,
it's not actually doing that.
No, but this is basically my perspective that AI is just going to make us that much more efficient. They're going to assist. They're going to be a smart assistant for customer success managers, or quite frankly, anybody in customer facing roles.
Yeah. Look at this. We're going to be virtual reality engagements. I actually would think it would be super cool if I was like standing in a room with all of you right now in virtual reality. I'm not ready yet to give Apple $3,500, but maybe in the future. So now it comes up with this totally visionary tale. What I would do with this, because I know this is like, okay, great, Mickey, like, what do I do with this story? I would work backwards. Which of these actually applies to the business, the situation, the problems that you're experiencing? And how can we work backwards to track you to that, if that's the future you want to live in? That's what most great inventors do, right? Steve Jobs says, the world I want to live in is 1,000 songs in your pocket. And he tracked back from that. So this is just an example of going creatively after this problem of CSM renewals and coming up with unintuitive ways of how you can tackle that. Because if you don't currently own renewals as a CSM and you have any anxiety about that, there's some non-selling ways that you can set yourself up for success. All right. Now we're really cooking. Look at that dog go.
Where the hell do you get that stuff?
The internet. So it's time to do more with ChatGPT. And the reason is it's really just daily chaos in customer success. Like you have all these tasks that you're trying to do, it's emails and reports and fixing problems and escalating things. And then of course you've got meetings. You know, this is where UpdateAI really comes in handy because you're trying to take notes, you're trying to produce agendas, track action items, collate all that product feedback. That's something else that we do, by the way, at UpdateAI. We give you the product feedback all nice and packaged so you can not have to put it in a spreadsheet for your product team by yourself. And then, of course, you know, projects. We're doing workshops. We're coming up with new processes. We're trying to come up with all these, you know, plans like success plans and more. And it all ends up in this dreaded admin block. You can virtually raise your hand if you want, but I know most of you, if not all of you, have at least one of these on your calendar per day. And this is my least favorite calendar block of the day. And unfortunately, ChatGPT cannot yet do this for you, cannot do everything for you. And there are some questions we have to ask, like, hey, is it gonna mess up my tone and accuracy if I'm having it do things for me? Or does it know like the accuracy, the relevancy, the context of a situation? These are all important questions that you have to ask yourself when working with this. And especially with meetings, because CSMs have on average 5 meetings per week. I'm sure a lot of you have a lot more. Can it help me with these things? So what I want to show you is how we can teach in an individual session ChatGPT to mimic our style and strategies. Because this is going to help. Sorry, Claire. I know 5 meetings per week does sound amazing. I know that we want to make sure that it is thinking and operating like us. So the first one I'm going to show you is about capturing your writing style. This is in the ebook. So if you haven't downloaded it yet, please do. That example, how to do it, is all written out for you. Then we're going to talk a little bit about using common frameworks. This is like your way of approaching things or your company's way of approaching things. And then, of course, you've got to provide the context. So what is the situation, the who, what, when, why, where? So capturing your writing style is actually very, very simple. 4 steps. 1, go get a sample of your writing. More is better. So not just like 2 emails, but if you can get 300, 500, 1,000 words, you will use that in the next stage is you're going to ask ChatGPT to evaluate that writing. And the green, that's like the specific prompt that I'm asking of ChatGPT. Again, this is in the book. So it's like, hey, tell me about this. Use adjectives, tone, give me a stylistic evaluation. And then you're going to turn it into a prompt template. So you're telling ChatGPT to take this stylistic evaluation and then turn it into what I like to call like a style guide. Your company probably has brand and style guides. Here's how we write. Here's the tone. You know, here's who we're writing to. You can do that for yourself. What does Mickey sound like? And then you save it and you can deploy it in other scenarios. If you're drafting an article, if you're writing a response to a customer, if you're coming up with a plan, if you're coming up with an opinion for an internal project, you can use this to bend ChatGPT to what you need to do. And you can even load it into ChatGPT as custom instructions. It's not something I'm getting into today, but that is a feature within ChatGPT Plus. So let me show you really quick kind of what that looks like in reality. So I did this myself. So I said, hey, give me, this detailed description of the writing style. And then I actually pasted in a bunch of text from the ebook that I wrote. So there's a bunch here. So I'll scroll. And then it gives me this evaluation, characterized as engaging, informative, enthusiastic, optimistic, extensive formatting elements.
ChatGPT just really boosted your attitude right there.
Oh yeah. Whenever I need a little like ego boost, I'll just tell ChatGPT, say nice things about me, please. And it'll do it as long as I want it to. And then this is something that I do strive to do a lot about. Breaking complex topics into digestible sections. I am really hard on myself in this regard. I'm hoping I'm doing a good job today, but I was very pleased to see that it picked up on this because that is something I really attempt to do. Then, of course, I tell it to turn it into a detailed writing prompt. And actually, I didn't really like this one when they first produced it, so I had to do it again. Okay, great. Begin with a captivating statement or question. Divide your content into clear, organized section. Be transparent about your level of expertise. Use a variety of formatting elements, and then conclude your writing with a call to action or thought-provoking question. Great. Now I have Mickey's style guide ready to go. Then I went one step further. I actually asked it, what authors have similar styles?
Here's where your ego really jumped up there. Malcolm Gladwell, Bill Bryson, Chip and Dan Heath. Damn.
I did not take this as an ego. What I actually took this is
Daniel Pink too. Wow, that's impressive.
So Malcolm Gladwell, Stephen Dubner, and Daniel Pink are all authors that I have read or listened to a ton of their content.
Yeah.
So what I took away from this is, I have been shaped by those people and it's showing up in my writing. So actually my to-do list to myself is to go and read and learn more from Bill Bryson and Chip and Dan Heath.
Switch is a great book. Great book.
By Bill or by
Chip? No, by the Heath, by Chip Heath.
Oh, Heath. There you go. It's right there.
Yeah, Switch. It's about change management.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I do want to give credit. This idea actually wasn't mine, but in the book I do give credit. It's Jason, if he's out there. All right. So now it's starting to write like you, right? Because now it has some semblance of what your style is. Now we want it to think like you. And this, I think, is all about frameworks. You don't need to memorize these things on the left. These are just examples. I'm going to give you this one, which is heart. So if you're creating like common responses, or if you're writing a response to a customer, you might follow this. So you acknowledge and empathize, you explain the potential issues, causes, and potential solutions. You answer any follow-up concerns, questions, make sure everything's out on the table, make sure that the issue is resolved. And then, of course, thank them, express gratitude for their patience, their feedback. This is a framework for writing a response. You fill in the words, but you can use these to put ChatGPT on rails using an approach that is proven, or you can ask it for an approach that is proven. So if you're like, hey, we have our own success plan process. I love it. I designed it. It's great. I want you, ChatGPT, to use this when coming up with the plan, because you already know it's good. That's how you think about coming up with success plans. So just have ChatGPT do that. And let me show you how this might start to play out. So imagine you have a new customer, Amazon. You need to onboard them, and it's a big deal, high profile client. You need to come up with a bunch of stuff. So we need a success plan. We need a RACI diagram. We need a detailed plan for the kickoff. We need agendas. We need data templates. We need email templates. We need a ton of different information. And it needs to be contextual, right? Because Amazon's a big company. It's probably something specific. So what I did, go to the top here, is I went to their latest earnings call. I grabbed a snippet of them talking about large language models. So Andy Jassy, their CEO, he was asked by Brian from Morgan Stanley about what are they doing there. I asked it to summarize it because I wanted to load in context. Wanted to make sure that ChatGPT knew, like, what are we specifically talking about here? So it gives me their position on large language models. This isn't super important, but I just want you to know that I'm feeding in context that's important to this scenario. You could do that for your customers. You could take like sales handoff notes. You could take some like use case studies, things from your customers, load those in, use that as context when you're building the plan. And then I asked it to pretend that it's a CSM to onboard, and we're going to onboard Amazon to our product, Snoop LLM. And it's an observability tool. Can't say that right. To help monitor LLM usage across the organization. Then I asked it to come up with a success plan that incorporates that context and make sure it includes all aspects. And you could just load in yours, if you have a specific outline. And here's what it came up with. It has this executive summary, short and long-term goals, the onboarding checklist, key stakeholders and roles. It has milestones and timelines. So this is what we've got to do in week 1 and 2, 3 and 4.
I'm disappointed that you didn't use the acronym Snoop Dogg, with the dog standing for Digital Observation Go-To, which would be.
Did you put that into ChatGPT to come up with an acronym?
I did not. That was all this. That was all me.
I love it. Good job. All right. So we have this plan, right? Probably need some tweaking. You would need to make sure you add some context around your product, services, things like that. But now I can ask it to not only give me a RACI diagram, but I also want a detailed plan for that first couple of weeks. So this is drilling down. So now we have our RACI diagram, who's consulted, responsible, informed, accountable. There's a lot of people, big company, makes sense. And then we got our detailed plan. Here's what we got to do.
Once again, I want to make sure we're setting appropriate expectations here, though. This is an aid. It is not a replacement, right? I mean, you can't just sit here and take this stuff, copy and paste it, and be done, right? This requires you to, you're going to need to review it pretty extensively. You're going to need to tweak it, to update it, but it does. Yes. It's a pretty significant aid. I mean, it gets you, instead of starting from scratch, maybe you're 60, 70, 80% of the way there.
100%. That is exactly the point I want to make sure everybody takes away is this is not customer ready, but it is going to save you an inordinate amount of time. So
it's back to my original, my contention for my LinkedIn post. ChatGPT is going to help you deal with some of the more mundane tasks and free you up and free your mind up to focus on the more strategic stuff. Correct. That you want to do, those things that are going to really move the needle for your customers.
That's right. Because all of you are much better at coming up with a strategic plan for success. We don't need you to be able to write a bullet point that says day 1 and day 2 and 3. That is not a good use of your time, intelligence, and skills. So now we're drilling out into this detailed plan. We're mapping it out. We've got all of these things that we've got to do. And yes, Glenn, be an editor, not an author. Now we wanted to draft a concise agenda for that kickoff call. We want to come up with a template for the data that's needed to be collected in that. So let's imagine you already loaded in a bunch of context and now you're asking it, hey, just come up with this template for me really quick so you can tweak it, send it off to the customer, whatever you're needed to keep moving that ball forward. We've got our agenda all laid out nice and even includes timelines for the meeting. We've got our template. We could drop into a document, super easy, tweak it. And then lastly, I asked it, what are all of the emails needed to run this process? I gave it some constraints, but this is leveraging this tool to say, don't just do this one thing for me. Help me do lots of things. If I'm going to need a bunch of templates, here's broad constraints, generate all the templates for me. So it drafted a project one, data collection reminder, training session announcement, technical issue reporting, how to do that, feedback request email, project completion and next steps email, 6 emails it generated in seconds that we would have to come up with, templatize, send out, that it did in just a crazy short amount of time. Again, you can all write a good email, but your time is better spent elsewhere. So this probably takes 10 or more hours if you're doing it all manually from scratch. I walked you through it, and now you can figure out how to go from this big, broad onboarding all the way down to these specific things we need to produce in 10 minutes. So we captured your writing style by reverse engineering it. We used frameworks like the success plan to help it think like you. What's the best approach? And this is what's going to save you a massive amount of time. So I want to show you another feature of ChatGPT that I think is really, really exciting because it's something that I love, but also struggle with, which is around data analysis. So just to tell you what Code Interpreter is, and again, I think it's a terrible name for the feature, is it's only available on ChatGPT Plus as a plugin. It's by OpenAI, by the way. It's not a third-party company. It's by OpenAI. You can upload multiple files up to 100 megabytes each. So if you've got a bunch of data, you can upload that data. And I do want to call out, it's great for data. It's not great for language. Because what it's doing is it's actually running Python on its own in its own environment. And it actually, if it hits errors, it'll debug itself to try to keep going. So let me show you really quick. I uploaded fake data, test contact data. There's 5,000 rows of data in this sheet. And I asked it just give me a brief bullet point description of what's in this file. These are all the columns, and I solemnly swear I will show you if you want, but this is the data that's in there. Gives me a little description. And then I said, hey, if you're an executive evaluating risk for a B2B SaaS company based on this file, what would you do? And I want you to think step by step and just produce a first pass. So now it goes through this own step by step. So it's like, hey, I'm going to do data integrity. I'm going to segment. I'm going to figure out customer concentration. I'm going to analyze the roles, support levels, industries, all these different things. And then it tells me what it's going to do. This is what I'm actually going to do. And then it actually starts working. So this is it running Python in the background. And it produced this. So now it's starting to give me just a basic first pass analysis, revenue role distribution. Looks like decision makers from the largest segment or form the largest segment at approximately 26%, followed by business users. It gives some, qualitative, hey, if decision makers aren't engaged or satisfied, all things you all know. So I'm going to keep going because, we're quickly running out of time. It gives some opportunities. I didn't ask it to, but it also pointed out, hey, here's some areas that we can go deeper. And then I asked it to look for any sort of relations, like, what relates to each other? Where can we find some different insights? And I told it to give me 6 combinations. So it produced these charts. I didn't explicitly tell it to produce charts, but it did. And it gave explanations for all these. So I'm going to stop just for a second and say, if you have data and if you need just a very quick descriptive analysis, you can load it into Code Interpreter and ChatGPT and ask it to produce a quick descriptive analysis to understand this data. This is something that most leaders have to do consistently, and it just takes a lot of time. Cleaning data, organizing it, pivoting on it, all of those things. You can even look at the work. So it'll show you the exact code that it's running. You could ask it questions about that code if you're not sure about the underlying data. This is so powerful. You can combine data sets even. You could say, here's a data set of all of our customers. Here's a data set of all of the contacts at those customers. Help me link those together. I think this means in the future, contact data will be much less messy, but we'll see if somebody builds that. You can quote me though. So now we can do data analysis faster than ever. So if you're in a startup, if you have data and you're not sure what to do with it, or you just need more time, Code Interpreter is going to massively speed you up there. I'm actually going to stop the demonstration Daniela, yes, you should be hesitant about data security. That's part of the reason why I used fake data. I'm going to stop there so we have time for questions. I was going to show you one other thing. We just unfortunately are out of time, which means that I'll just have to do another webinar in the future and you'll have to come attend that. So,
so let's jump to questions. Kimberly. Hi, Kimberly. Kimberly comes to a bunch of our webinars.
Yeah.
Kimberly asks, I've heard that there are AI tools like DALL-E, et cetera, that can create images, but is there a good AI tool for creating specific branding type images and then resizing them? For example, LinkedIn backgrounds, website backgrounds, logos, et cetera. Canva comes to mind, but I'm not sure if it does it, or what tool is best.
Yeah, I feel like I have seen something like that. I just can't remember the name off the top of my head. But I will use this big disclaimer. Image generation is still a little bit of a crapshoot. It's actually very, very good, but it's very hard to get, like, I want something super specific, like the update logo. It would be actually struggle to do this repeatedly. But I use Canva all the time. I think it's an amazing, very simple tool. They have a little bit of AI built into it. But then if I just want to have like fun, or like it's okay if it's kind of broad, I will use Midjourney, which is AI generated imagery.
I've used DALL-E, but purely just to generate random caricatures of people that I'm throwing onto a slide. Hey, I want to, in this format I want, but there's no, it never produces like the same character in a different position twice, right? It's very random.
Yep.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks, Kimberly. Our next question comes from Anonymous. Thanks for joining us, Anonymous. Has there been any discussion about ChatGPT and the recent class action lawsuits and privacy?
Yeah. I think the long and short answer is there's going to be a lot of lawsuits. There's going to be a lot of law that doesn't exist today that needs to get figured out. So until that time, we can all kind of speculate, but it will get figured out over the next probably decade. My guess is there's going to be lots of appeals and lots of lawsuits.
And that, of course, also doesn't stop, though, companies from deploying their own large language model, within their organization, right?
Correct.
For enterprise use. So, question from Anthony was a usage question. I often find when I copy and paste from ChatGPT, the format, like bold headers, do not transfer over. Is there a tip for that, especially tables?
Yeah, I've also noticed the same for tables. But when I do Markdown, like if I bring it into Notion, it'll take it, but some other tools like Word won't. So I think that's more of like the tools not playing together in the underlying formatting, as opposed to like ChatGPT's problem versus their problem.
Yeah, I think that the value in what you're generating is the content, and you're just gonna have to go. That's part of the effort of going in and addressing the formatting. Anonymous asks again, what is the best practice to protect your company's data and information which we consider confidential or sensitive? Even client names could be seen as this. Don't put it in ChatGPT.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is if you're unsure and or you've gotten specific guidance by your company, then don't do it. Now, OpenAI, all these companies, they know that businesses is going to be where they make a insane amount of money. So they are working on this problem quite a bit. They've already rolled out some features around data privacy, not having your data used to train the models. That's actually, if you go to openai.com/data use policies, the first thing is we don't use your information to train our models unless you opt in. But then that begs the question of, do you trust companies to do what they say they're going to do?
Right.
Because we've all been burned.
Cambridge Analytica.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. No, who opted in for that? Barbara from LinkedIn asks, what do they do with the data that you're uploading? Aren't you concerned about proprietary information? I think we answered that.
Yeah.
Right? If you are concerned about proprietary information, don't upload it.
Yeah. You can also obfuscate your data.
Yeah,
You can
that's
you
true.
can use the similar structure, but just replace the values, just like they do with credit cards.
Now,
Nobody actually stores credit cards.
can you use ChatGPT to obfuscate the data?
Well, then you're just putting it
It's
into
like
ChatGPT.
yeah. Heidi asks, are there any AI tools that allow you to upload a PowerPoint presentation and have the tool redesigned? Gamma, Beautiful, Deck Octopus all create decks from a prompt. I love one that can redesign a deck I already have.
Not that I'm aware of,
Yeah.
but I'm sure people are thinking about it and working on it. Because yeah, I've tried Gamma and Tome and other ones like that, and it's definitely good to get started, but it's not done.
I tried Beautiful and I was very frustrated. It couldn't handle my template, and then the support was questionable. It took them a week to get back to me.
Yeah.
So
the next one,
Anthony asks, link reader. Do you know about that?
Used to be no, but there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of them like that. If you just Googled like LinkedIn scraper, or, text scraper, website scraper, there's a million of them. If you wanted to get crazy, you could actually probably build your own with ChatGPT if you know anything about Python and JavaScript, or nothing. It could help you. Rachel Baker.
Rachel asks, is the hallucination rate within code interpreter similar to the hallucination rate for the rest of ChatGPT?
Well, I'd say there's probably not enough empirical evidence on this, and it's very, very hard to measure, though it's a problem that a lot of them are measuring. So I will give my disclaimer that I've given on other ones. If it matters for safety, ethical, or legal reasons, then you need to be able to independently verify.
And finally, Joanna, we're going to get you in here right before the bell. If we upload customer notes, does that upload to public info or does it stay in the chat session?
I'm going to assume that you mean public info as in like training the underlying models on that.
Yeah.
OpenAI has gone on record saying that unless you opt in, they're not going to. You can also disable chat history within the tool itself. So you should be comfortable, in my opinion, from a probabilistic sense, meaning like, what is the probability something is going to go wrong if I put it in there? I actually think it's very, very, very low, but
no guarantees. I'm going to throw the disclaimer out there.
Absolutely no guarantees. Correct.
Represented on this webinar.
That's right. Awesome. I am not a blank advisor.
Exactly. Well, you may be a blankety blank advisor. All right. Awesome. Mickey, thank you again for joining us. Thank you everybody for attending this. We will, we've gotten a lot of great feedback on this series, and I think we need to talk about doing another one potentially. So if you signed up for it, if you signed up for any of our webinars, we'll make sure to let you know if we go ahead and schedule another one here before the end of the year.
There will be more. It's just a question of when, folks. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Andrew and team, for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Mickey.